In this video, we're going to go through the process of conducting a simple correlation analysis using SPSS. So in this file here, I have already have set up 4 separate variables, and these are variables where all the data are on a ratio scale. And these are variables that examine the relationship between the score on an academic test and the amount of studying that students do, the amount of sleep that students get, and the amount of actual practice of the items to appear on that test that students would take. So we have 4 variables. At this point, with a simple correlation, we're not going to do any predictive analysis, but we're just going to examine the relationship between these 4 variables simultaneously. So to do this with SPSS, I'm going to go up to the menus and click Analyze, and I'm going to scroll down until I get to Correlate, and then I'm going to click Bivariate Correlation. And so with the bivariate correlation, when we ask SPSS to do this, it's going to examine the relationship between these variables 2 at a time. And so these are the 4 variables. I'm just going to shift and click the bottom variable to highlight all of those. Then I'm going to pull them over to variables. Then I'm going to go to options here. Now under options, what I want to do at the same time is collect the means and standard deviations for each of those 4 variables. I'm going to continue. And then I'm going to click confidence interval. And then I'm going to ask SPSS to estimate the confidence intervals of what will be calculated by SPSS, which is the correlation coefficient, the R value. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to click this box here. I'm going to leave it at 95%, which is the standard, and I'm not going to apply any bias adjustment at this point. So I'm just going to continue. Now on the bottom of this dialog box, because our data are in ratio units, we're just going to stick with the Pearson correlation coefficient, and we're going to go with the two-tailed test, and we want to flag the statistically significant correlations here, and then we're just going to automatically show the diagonal on the correlation matrix. So now that I have everything set up, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. We'll just wait a moment for the analysis to be completed. So what we see here at the very top are the descriptive statistics, which is the average and standard deviation for the sample size of 100, for the score, the study, the sleep, and the practice variables. And what we see here is the correlation matrix, where we have the 4 scores along the top and the same variables, or the 4 variables along the top and the 4 variables along the side here. And what SPSS returns is the Pearson correlation value, so the R value, and it uses the asterisk to indicate the variables that are statistically significant, and here it indicates it at the 0.01 level. And so we have the significant correlations indicated. So to interpret this, we would have to read the correlation matrix table and examine the where those relationships are statistically significant. What SPSS does not present automatically are scatter plots or the significant t-values that are used to determine statistical significance. So to produce a scatter plot, what is recommended here, what is standard procedure actually, is to make a scatter plot minimally of those correlations that are statistically significant. And so here we see the associated p-value, the sample size, and that continues, and we see another significant correlation right here, the associated p-value, sample size, and we also see correlation coefficients that are not found to be statistically significant between sleep and study, negative 0.05. So that's a very low R value with a very high p-value. Scrolling to the bottom here, what we see are the R values, the Pearson correlation coefficients between score and study, score and sleep, and in a pairwise manner between all of the variables in the study, and the confidence interval that is on either side of the R value. It's important to note here that the 95% confidence intervals for correlation coefficients are skewed, so it will not be an equal balance between the upper end and the lower end of the actual Pearson correlation coefficient. So this ends this video on how to use SPSS to perform a simple correlation analysis.